Lee is gracing us with her presence from the legal world. She has decided that there's another way to live her life, I'm picking up, and she's very interested in the wellness industry, and particularly in a fabulous product. She was aware of inflammation in the body and is a distributor of iGalen products, and they have a marked difference in creating a change in the body, reducing inflammation, which obviously leads to many other issues if it's not dealt with, and a lot of us have experienced that in various forms. Let's welcome Lee Rafferty, and I'll hand over. Thank you so much, Lee.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming along to hear what I have to tell you about the iGalen products. iGalen is only about 15 months old, and it is producing some outstanding results with its products thus far. We are not in every country of the world yet, but we're working on it. The main thrust of our two products that have been released so far is to calm down chronic inflammation in our bodies. Of course, we need acute inflammation to heal when we've had an injury, but the problem is that with our lifestyle and the food that we've been eating, which has been rich in refined carbohydrates for a long time, the majority of us have chronic inflammation in our bodies. Science has been learning for quite a long time now that inflammation is a major component in the development of a large number of diseases these days as well. So the iGalen products, because they address the inflammation, they can benefit people across a wide range of medical conditions if there's an inflammatory component to it. The name iGalen comes from Galen of Pergamon. He was born in Turkey at around about 130 AD. He went to the Roman Empire. He was a physician, a surgeon, and a philosopher. And he kind of liked to buck the system. He was very curious, and he challenged a lot of ideas. And one of the things that he identified as what's called a disturbance of function was inflammation. And so given his interest in inflammation, so the company decided to name itself after Galen. We have two products at the moment. The first of these is Emulin, and there are three different Emulins, although they're essentially have the same effect. They were developed by Dr. Joe Ahrens, who's a research scientist in the United States, twice nominated for a Nobel Prize. It was about a 12-year period over which he researched and developed the product until he was satisfied with it. Dr. Ahrens' theory is that we are all somewhat deficient in flavonoids these days because of the way our food is produced and the way that it's prepared in a lot of cases. Excessive consumption of refined carbohydrates or empty calories has given rise to a serious problem with inflammation in our bodies. Leads to carbohydrate toxicity, increased blood sugar, elevated blood fats, excessive weight gain, poor sleep, and sluggish physical and mental activity. Prolonged excess carb intake leads to inflammation. He found that modern-day food processing has stripped the emulin-like compounds out of our diet, and that therefore they need to be added back by supplementation. Inflammation is the body's first response to any harmful elements entering into the body, and long-term inflammation leads to tissue breakdown and disease, including diabetes, cancer, and a whole range of other illnesses. Emulin works to calm down that chronic inflammation, which is the result of excess carbohydrate intake, and it helps the body metabolize and better manage carbohydrates that we consume. It inhibits about 30% of carbohydrates from entering the bloodstream, converting to sugar, and then laying down as fat in the body. It also calms the desire for refined carbohydrates and acts, although it wasn't designed for it, but it does reduce the appetite as well. Like many other people, when I started taking Emulin, I began to sleep better. And as someone who takes antidepressant medications, I also found that it lightened my mood at a time when I was confronting probably having to increase my medications. And I thought, I was surprised by that because I hadn't expected that to be a result. So I went and Googled depression and inflammation in the brain, and sure enough, I found plenty of good resources to say that that is indeed an issue. So something that came out of the blue for me unexpectedly. Emulin is a patented blend of plant compounds. The C and M comes from grape skin, onion skin and green coffee bean, but minus the caffeine. Emulin E, they've replaced the green coffee bean with green tea and added gallic acid. Gallic acid is a polyphenol which comes from many different food sources and is a significant anti-inflammatory and antioxidant product. The active ingredients, for anyone who might have the knowledge and the interest, is myricetin, which slows the digestion of carbohydrates in the gut, so sugar is absorbed more slowly into the intestine and the bloodstream. Quercetin, which helps glucose to be moved out of fat tissue. Chlorogenic acid, which inhibits the breakdown of starch to its smaller glucose components. And gallic acid, a powerful antioxidant and anti-inflammatory. Fundamentally, the theory is that if you reduce inflammation in the body will go to a state of what's called homeostasis, so that it is in its best position that it can be in order to heal itself. Dr. Aaron's view is that everyone needs Emulin, and I suspect he may well be right, because often chronic inflammation is a bit of an issue, but it's been happening to us for so long we're not even aware that we could actually feel better. Importantly, Emulin doesn't interact or conflict with prescription medications, although we always recommend that people tell their doctors what they're taking so that they can monitor their health, particularly with things like high blood pressure, which can be reduced by Emulin, and so you need to monitor your medications for any condition like that. Climax was developed by Dr. Stefano Scoglio. He was nominated last year for a Nobel Prize for his work. His education started with an undergraduate degree in law, and after that he did a degree in political science before finally deciding that he would do a PhD in holistic medicine. He's undertaken several clinical trials, has 10 specific scientific publications and 6 patents to his name. Climax comes from a microalgae which is harvested from a volcanic crater lake in Oregon in the United States. The lake is shallow, but the bed of the lake is approximately 10 metres deep of volcanic ash. The plant is particularly nutritionally rich. It contains all 14 vitamins, with high concentrations of vitamins A and B, particularly vitamin B12, folates, vitamin K, and also useful amounts of vitamins C and E. It also contains more than 70 minerals and trace minerals, including significant iron and vanadium, which is essential for insulin metabolism and metabolic syndrome. It's also a good source of omega-3 fatty acids and has the widest spectrum of carotenoids and possibly the highest content of polyphenols. The rich source of vitamins and minerals over time explains many seemingly miraculous health benefits people are experiencing. It has higher quantities of essential vitamins and minerals than spirulina or chlorella. As with Emulin, there are no known interactions with pharmaceutical drugs, and in fact, studies have shown that Climax can reduce the side effects of chemotherapy without reducing the benefits of chemotherapy. Studies have shown benefits from Climax in such things as depression and anxiety, menopausal symptoms, ADHD, psoriasis, gastric and intestinal inflammation, anti-proliferative activity, and last but not least, stimulation of neuronal stem cells and the fight against neurodegenerative diseases. Those would include Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease. Climax stimulates the release of stem cells and it crosses the blood-brain barrier and improves brain health. In relation to both of these products, I've observed people who I know have faster recovery from injuries. In one case, an ultramarathon runner friend of mine developed tendinitis at the base of her hamstrings. She saw the physiotherapist who said she'd be 6 weeks or more in recovery. 1 week later, she began to take Emulin. 1 week after that, she saw her physiotherapist who said she was 3 weeks more advanced in her recovery than he would have expected. I have another testimonial with photographs on my booth of a man who had second-degree burns on his arm as a result of burns from presumably the exhaust of his motorcycle. His wife gave him both products in double doses, and 11 days later he had full recovery of skin. I've had a number of stories of people, including my own brother, who was taking metformin medication for prescription drug-induced diabetes. After 3 months of taking Emulin, he no longer needs prescription medications and his blood sugars are stable. Someone else that I know had been told that her pancreas was just not working. She was having 2 insulin injections a day, oral medication for diabetes, and something like 20 prescription medications every day for multiple autoimmune conditions, and that included 1,000 micrograms a day of thyroxine for Hashimoto's disease. She now takes 400 micrograms of thyroxine for her Hashimoto's disease and no other medications. Her blood sugars are stable, and she has recently had a blood test for her immune levels, and the report is that she now has immunity against several of the autoimmune conditions from which she suffered for about 20 years. I have another friend who had 4 years suffering with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome to the point, she's 52 now. In March last year, she needed a walking stick to walk. She was in a lot of pain. She was taking steroid medication. She was taking painkillers, and she was also needing antidepressants because her mood was reduced due to her condition. She couldn't work. Shortly after that, she began to take Emulin, and by Christmas last year, she's off all medications. She's happy, she's well, has no pain, and she's enjoying her life again. Someone else that I know was born with a defect in her bladder. When she was 2 hours old, she underwent surgery. For the whole of her life, she's had to self-catheterise, and every 3 months she's required to have an internal examination of her bladder. She's had chronic ulceration in her bladder, which has not been pretty, and it's been very unpleasant for her. Her life has just been full of illness. In about the middle of last year, after taking Emulin for several months, she had reduced ulceration inside the bladder. And then another 3 months further on, she had no ulceration in her bladder. She also has neuropathy in her legs, which is a particularly painful nerve condition. Her symptoms have reduced, and she's a much happier and well person who's now finding her way to the gym on a regular basis. I have a testimonial from a woman in Canada who suffers from rheumatoid arthritis. She said last Christmas someone asked her how she was going, and she said, "My life isn't worth living anymore because of her symptoms." She started Emulin early in the year, and she is now living a happy and productive life again. She just doesn't suffer from the symptoms of pain that she had before, and she's enjoying life again. These products also help lift depression and anxiety. They've been known to affect erectile dysfunction. They've benefited Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease, and we're now getting reports from parents of children with ADHD and autism that the children are responding positively with better toileting, better sleep, better communication skills, and they're more attentive to remaining on task than they were previously. So you can see from those that these products for many people are truly life-changing. Recent science is now of the view that inflammation plays a significant role in the condition of lupus, although at this time I'm not aware of anyone who's tried these products for lupus. So those are my Galen products, but I also have some health technology, one of which is a BioZen. It's a shield against electromagnetic emissions which we get from our phones, our laptops, our iPads, our microwave ovens and all of our electrical outlets at home. It's a small sticker which goes onto your device and it shields us from radiation. There's a lot of denial about the effects of that radiation on us, but if, like me, you have an iPhone and you drill down through the general menus, you'll find that there's a point at which they advise that you use your phone only on hands-free. Now, why would they say that? They're being cautious. There's a woman in the United States who developed breast cancer, and when they examined the breast tissue, they decided, or they concluded, that the site where the cancer began was exactly where the antenna of her mobile phone used to sit when she regularly had her mobile phone in her bra. And the evidence is increasing that we need to reduce our exposure. So this is a good start. I also have what's called a Helo. It's a health band. It's not a fitness watch. It doesn't have a watch face. What it does is it measures vital statistics, heart rate, blood pressure, breath rate, and you can check these at any time because you sync it to your mobile phone and get your readings. An example of one man who benefited from using one of these is a 50-year-old man in Canada who felt healthy and well. He was reasonably fit and had no particular health issues. And he noticed that when he checked his stats, his blood pressure was peaking strangely. So he went to see his doctor, fortunately. He was referred for scans and referred to a cardiologist. And it was found in the scans that one of his major heart arteries was 100% blocked and a second one was 75% blocked. So fortunately, those were cleared before he suffered a massive heart attack and serious harm to his health. There are further apps that are being developed to go with the Helo, one of which should be released very soon, and that is to enable people with diabetes to test their blood sugar levels without having to do a pinprick test. And there's another one coming probably late this year which will enable transdermal blood alcohol readings. One of the advantages of this device is that, for example, I could give one to my mother to wear, and if she had something go wrong, if her blood pressure spiked or if there was a problem with her blood sugars, it would be synced to my phone and I would get an alert to say there's a problem. I know someone whose mother, she got an alert that her mother's blood pressure had gone a bit crazy. So she called her mum and her mother said, no, it's fine, we just had an issue at work and I'm fine. And so there will be lots of other apps that go with this device, including fitness apps for people to be able to monitor their health before anything significant happens. And in terms of the blood sugar level testing, I'm told that the breath rate and the heart rate can tell the story of a problem developing with blood sugar levels before, in fact, it's evident in the bloodstream. So those are my products. I hope some of them may be of interest to you. I'm down on booth 28, and if anyone has any questions right now, I'd be happy to answer.
Given the fact that the Indian works on inflammation, reducing inflammation, without very hard to have testimonials for it, but have you heard of anything on cancer? Has there been any evidence
The scientist who developed it, Dr. Scolio, says that the Climax has anti-proliferative effects without interfering with chemotherapy, although it shouldn't be taken with radiotherapy. And there are reports of people whose cancer, while taking the Climax in particular, it hasn't been cured as such, but it hasn't progressed as well. And when people stop taking it, then it progresses again. It's a case-by-case basis, and it's difficult to predict, but it's certainly, given its anti-proliferative effect, it's of some benefit. Oh, the Emulin is in a capsule form, and the Climax is a powder which is mixed with water. It's a beautiful blue-green colour, which is the natural colour of the algae. It's very palatable, although I know some people who say, but it's green. But it's got a very soft taste, and it's quite palatable. You can even pop it into your mouth without mixing it with water if you wanted to. Thank you everyone for being here.